everyone, it's Ray with Tarot Living. So I've got a tarot spread today that I think you're really going to like, and it is called a timing spread, and it comes from this book actually, Tarot Spreads and Layouts, and this is written by Jeanne Fiorini. And Jeanne is actually a tarot card reader and teacher, and she's got a website. I can't remember the name of the website, but I believe her YouTube channel is under her own name, and I'll put a link so you can check that out. And so she wrote this book probably about 4 or 5 years ago, I believe, and it was produced by Schiffer, published by Schiffer. And this book actually has quite a few really good tarot spreads in it, and I really, trust her opinion in terms of, spreads that are usable and good, and I like her approach. So I thought I would show you this one today. Okay, so in her book on page 81, you will find this timing exercise. And you can actually use it, she said you can use it for anywhere from 4 to 8 cards in your layout. And that's because you may want to not move as far ahead in the timing. So she's suggesting you can either do, 2 weeks ahead, 4 weeks ahead. So in this case, I'm going to go 4 months ahead, and you're going to do 2 cards for each month. So we're in May right now, so I'm going to do June, July, August, and September. That's what I'm going to do for mine. But there's certainly different things you can do in terms of the time factor that you want to use. Certainly you could use weeks, so you could use, next week, the week after, etc. Or you could use seasons. So in any event, she has a discussion in here, though, in her chapter on timing that I think is really valid, and it really kind of summarizes some of the things I said in my practice 1 video. She was saying that when you're looking at a question about when, so if it's a when question, make sure that all of the basic factors have been, considered, or you've done readings for those things. So for example, if someone is asking, when am I going to have a baby? But you don't know what the situation is within, say, the marriage, or if they have considered what the options would be for that, or what the challenges or barriers might be to that, and you don't kind of have the lay of the land, I like to say it that way. If you don't know the lay of the land, then you shouldn't really be asking a when question yet. So what you would want to consider is, what is the lay of the land first? And then once you've determined where things are at, then a when question may certainly be relevant and, applicable and appropriate. So a when question, is really just asking just that, when is something going to happen? And in this particular reading, what I really like about the particular layout that she's suggested here is that there's 2 cards per section. So for June, July, August, September, there's going to be 2 cards. And again, just very similar in the yes/no video that I've recently done, those 2 cards are going to give you some information about whether it's conducive in each particular period. And if it isn't conducive, maybe why not? What is the barrier or the block? And if it is conducive, what are the 2 cards really saying? So I personally use the 2 cards as really a description of what is the barrier going to be for any particular period, or what is the what is the energy that's going to allow it to move ahead at any particular period. So in this particular reading, you are really looking for laying out 8 cards, 2 for each section. So the person would, of course, come up with the question, and they would intuitively, shuffle the deck, and they would choose 2 cards per section. So I frankly would just sort of lay them all out in an accordion fashion, and then I would have them pick 2 cards per section intuitively. So let's go ahead and develop a question then. So I think a good question would be, what month would be best for me to sell my house? Let's do that one. So we've got June, July, August, or September. In this case, just for time factor, I'm going to pick 2 and put them, under each section. So I'm actually going to pick 2, and I'm just doing this randomly, just an intuitive feel to it. Okay, so we've got 2 cards per section now. So then we would start looking at them, and again, this is not black and white. What we're looking at is whether there's energy showing this would be a good time to move ahead, or whether there's energy showing there could be a block in a particular month. Okay, so let's take a look at June and all of the other months. So for June, we've got King of Pentacles and 7 of Swords. For July, we've got the Hanged Man and Page of Pentacles. Oops, sorry, I should have done August first. August, we've got Justice and Eight of Swords. And for September, the Emperor and Ten of Pentacles. So remember that while you are looking at each month, as Jeanne Fiorini in her book points out, you're really looking at whether there are probabilities and likelihoods. And I would probably expand that to say you're also looking at months where there may be delays or difficulties or trials. So let's go through a few of these. So for June, I think this is really interesting. June is King of Pentacles and Seven of Swords. Now the King of Pentacles, Pentacles of course relating to tangible areas of our lives. So it can include money, finances, our possessions, certainly can involve, real estate, housing. And King of Pentacles is ruled by Taurus. And in fact, if you look very closely on this card, you can see the Taurus bull right there. And Taurus astrologically is a sign that's all about the tangible things in life, and they tend to be very earthy and very grounded, and they have possessions and resources that they utilize well. And so they kind of, masters of the physical plane in many ways. So King of Pentacles is actually a really good, placement here. But the only problem is that we've got the Seven of Swords that came up with it. And the Seven of Swords, in my opinion, really puts a trial or a difficulty with this particular card. So this can relate to just the financial aspect. It could relate to a real estate agent. It could relate to, just the whole concept of, the selling and purchasing of a home. But the Seven of Swords tends to be a card that, relates to duplicity and deception and kind of, sneaking sort of around and things that are beneath the surface that are not being told, not being upfront. Someone is trying to take advantage of you. They're taking something that's yours and maybe you're not aware that that's going on. So the Seven of Swords in this position with the King of Pentacles suggests to me that perhaps someone is going to you would want to be cautious with signing any kind of deal, or make sure that you have your eyes very wide open and that there's no deception and that there's, nothing going on that you're unaware of that will come and, bite you later. You'd want to make sure that everyone in the situation is being as honest as possible and that there's no one, that is being, underhanded in any way. So this one for me personally, I would probably, say that June, if you are selling in June, then you may want to really take a very close look at everything going on financially and everything going on with regard to contracts or communication, because it is swords, and to be, cautious in that area. So let's go on to July and see what we think of July. So July is very interesting as well. So Page of Pentacles, Pentacles again, which is, good. They're, like I said just recently on the King of Pentacles, the Pentacles are all about the tangible aspects of life, and it's all about the finances and the, physical possessions and resources. And Page of Pentacles can be very resourceful and can be very, grounded. But it usually means, pages usually means there's kind of a start to a situation and that it's not fully developed. And it can also mean that a lot of patience and that there could be delays or patience required because it's something that will be developed over a long period of time. So it really suggests that something is at the beginning and that it's not moving ahead perhaps very quickly. And the Hanged Man is typically a card that represents a situation that is maybe in limbo, or that there is a delay or a pause going on, and that you had to kind of surrender yourself to the situation because there's not anything that you can do to move it ahead any quicker, and that you may need to pause in order to determine if your perspective is correct on it, or if you need to maybe look at it differently. And so these two cards together really suggest to me that there could be some kind of starts and stops to the situation, and that at the end of the day there could be some delays, or that you maybe need to pause and really take a look at the situation more closely. So for July, I'm not seeing a lot of moving forward energy there. So if you look at August we have Justice, which can be good for legal matters, and it can be good for writing contracts and signing things, and it can sometimes represent that. But we've got Eight of Swords there, and so Eight of Swords can often mean that you're sort of self-imposing some limitations, and that your perspective on the situation is limited, and that you're not seeing maybe everything clearly, and that perhaps you're overthinking it, and therefore it's just not clearly moving ahead. Certainly we see someone who's bound, and that things are not easy flowing, and that somehow something about communication, thinking, perspective is at kind of a stalemate or a standstill, or even is locked up, and that there's not something flowing there. So in this situation with these two cards together, it's almost like if you're wanting to move ahead with writing a contract, you're almost forced to move outside of your own perspective, and it is perhaps something that you're self-imposing. Maybe you're thinking to yourself, let me give you an example. Like when you're selling a house, usually you have in your mind a certain amount that you're going to accept for payment, or for the cost of the house, and you're very unwilling to budge beyond a certain kind of low, the lowest point that you'll go. Let's just make it easy. You want to sell it for $200,000, and you don't want to move beyond that. But you get an offer in that's less, and you're having difficulty moving outside of that perspective, and so you've got an offer, but it's just not what you wanted, and so you keep digging in your heels, and you're not sort of moving forward with it. Could be that. It could also be that there's something related to the contract that's actually quite binding, and that it's not necessarily something that's good for you, and you need to take a look at whether it's just a self-imposed thing, or if it's actually something that is locking you into something that's not going to be super positive. So any way you look at it, I think the Eight of Swords definitely has a connotation that there is some kind of communication perspective or thought system that is not flowing and smooth. Even though the Justice card is there, I would be somewhat cautious about doing a contract unless you know that it's representing exactly what you want, or that you've perhaps moved outside of your original perspective and made peace with that in some way. Okay, and the last month is September. So September, I'm kind of liking the energy of September already. So we've got the Emperor and the Ten of Pentacles. I'm actually going to put it this way, just because to me it doesn't matter which order they come up in. I would not read these in necessarily the order that they come up in. I would actually read them as a combination of meaning. And I'm only putting the Emperor before because it's Major Arcana, so I want to talk about it first. So the Emperor is the number 4 in the Major Arcana, and it does relate to, the 4s are usually all about structure, form, order, and they can definitely be about control, authority, really taking charge of a situation. So with it being a 4, I always think about the Emperor, which sits actually in relationship to Aries, and you can see the ram. Do you see the 2 ram heads on either side of his throne? And actually they're up on top as well. You can see them up here. Whoa, you can't actually point there. There we go. See them there, and then down here where my finger is. Anyway, those rams are actually in relationship to Aries, and so it's ruled by the ram astrologically. And Aries also is in relationship to the 4 of Wands. So you see there's a connection to the 4 of Wands there. So fire and 4. So Emperor and 4 of Wands has a connection. And Four of Wands always, really I see that card as being very positive, and certainly very positive for home, buying a home, setting up a home, having financially got yourself to a place or brought yourself to a place that is positive for a home environment. So the Emperor relates to that particular card, but not only that, it also relates to structure, form, and order, and so I think that's what a house often represents for us. It's foundational. And Aries, the Emperor can be, someone is in charge of the situation. It could mean that there is a lot of parameters around it that you're being very strong about, and that perhaps you're utilizing your leadership skills and your ability to control the situation in the way that's going to be right for you. So those are some of the positive aspects. I mean, obviously the Emperor can get over-controlling and overbearing at times, but I think in this situation, sitting with the Ten of Pentacles, I think that it shows a lot of positivity in my mind. So the Ten of Pentacles, is really the fruition. The 10 is the ending and the fruition of the Pentacle group, and we've seen that Pentacle laid out 3 times here in this reading. And Ten of Pentacles, tens mean that it's brought itself to completion, and Pentacles, of course, relates to all of the physical and tangible aspects of life. And this card in particular can often mean, tradition, family, home, and that there's a solidity, there's a financial success, and there's solidity that has been developed through family and home environment that is in relation to the monetary situation, which is very positive here. So it's almost like you can develop, you can use your leadership skills and your ability to create structure and form and order in your life with bringing, kind of manifesting that through the Pentacle group. And so the Pentacles, of course, relating to finances and home and family environment. So I really like September in terms of being able to take control of the situation and have some kind of structure and order around perhaps a good, contract for selling a house. And Ten of Pentacles really bodes well with that. So I think that month is very good. So I hope this has been helpful in terms of understanding how this particular layout can be used to see some of the, the positive areas or likelihoods that may happen in certain months or seasons or weeks, whatever, timing increment is right for you. And to see the areas that might be challenging that you may need to, keep your eye open for, and understand where there might be a gateway of some, greater positivity, such as what I'm seeing in September. And you may see it differently. Tarot is an art, and it's certainly about communicating with your client and having discussion. And so I hope this has helped in terms of understanding how you may be able to communicate some of these things to the client so that they can, move forward and walk away with maybe some feedback of how they want to make choices going forward in their own lives. Thanks a lot for watching. If you've enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Take care.